us we got a week ahead of us now, but most points given up, 49 points, just like last week, and the fewest points at 6. The only other time that had happened back in 2009, played at home against Breeze Central, rained its Petunia off all day and night, and it was just a mud bowl all night long. I just remember Kyle Breitenstein coming off the field and just covered head to toe in mud.
Couldn't see the uniform.
Couldn't see anything out of him. So
yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling where we sit right now. Haven't been in this situation in a while, but again, credit to our kids, and we knew going into the year that it was going to be a struggle, especially early because of the number of kids that were taking their first snaps. But we can't keep using that. Get to week 3, week 4, it's no longer their first snap. So it's time to have some better results than what we've had the last 2 weeks. And again, our kids responded well this week, so we'll see where we're at.
And you can't take anything against Waterloo. They had big linemen. They pretty much pushed us around wherever they wanted to. And we knew that they were going to run the football. I talked to Coach Germain last week, knew that the running was going to be the name of the game for them. Didn't know what formation they were going to be set up for. So they had a little bit of complexity, I guess you'd say. And they pretty much did what they wanted to. And, your opening drive, whenever you start with a pick 6 right off the bat, put yourself behind in a bad spot right off the bat too.
Yeah, they pretty much, you're right. They did whatever they wanted to do. And it's easy as an offensive play caller when every play that you call is 6, 7, 8 yards, sometimes more, and you get in a rhythm. And, a lot of people have not experienced that. The other side of that before, it's really difficult as an offensive play caller and even a defensive play caller. You feel helpless at times. You're just kind of like reaching into the hat hoping to pull out a rabbit, and every time you reach in there, you're not pulling anything out. And it's not happening. And so, it's always tough when it's Waterloo. It's tough whenever you're at their place. But, the credit goes to them. They got after us, and they pushed us around. And challenge for our kids all week's been, we got to stop playing so soft, and we got to play aggressive. And if we're not going to play aggressive, the results are going to continue to be exactly what they have been. This is a sport that you can't be passive. You've got to be aggressive, and if you're not, don't expect anything other than what you've got so far.
So that's my next question to you. I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but it's perfect time now. How do you get that out of your players? That's not something that can be taught or coached. You got to have the guy that has that. They have to have that it factor. So how do you get that to the guys this week? I mean, you kind of tell them, hey, you got to win this game and get yourself in the right track of mind of things.
Yeah, there's no question that teaching toughness is difficult because, some coaches would tell you that toughness is something you either have or you don't have. But I think the one thing that needs to happen, and hopefully at some point it will, and it has this week in practice, is that they start to have some confidence and build some confidence and feel more comfortable with their assignments. Because when you have kids that aren't it's been a struggle in practice. Again, kids, the summer was probably not what we would want the most summers to be as far as our training and kids being around. And when kids are not 100% confident in what they're doing on the football field, they may not even be a kid that's not an aggressive kid. They might be an aggressive kid, but if they don't know what they're doing, they become somebody that's going 75% because they're unsure. So that's been the focus this week, is our consistency and our execution, and trying to keep it simple enough that they 100% know what they're supposed to be doing. It's just become difficult, and it becomes more difficult as kids get injured. And then you start putting kids in other positions maybe that they're not ready for. That becomes a huge challenge. So hopefully we can stay healthy this week and continue to develop some consistency on both sides of the ball.
Not everything was bad the other night. We had the big 31-yard touchdown reception by Drew Meganson. So that was, you're down 7-0. You come back on that next drive, I believe it was, and you get that score, and you're thinking, all right, 7-6. We missed the PAT, so you're thinking, all right, we're right here where we need to be. So you had a little bit of glimmer of hope. After that, obviously, everything changed. But a couple stats from last week. Dom Vagley, 17 for 29, 156 yards, 1 touchdown. And something that we haven't seen Dom do very often. He threw a pick, ended up going for a pick 6, but for the most part, he's doing a good job protecting the football for you last year and into this year. So that's a little bit of a sign.
Yeah, that's good. Those numbers are not typical Dom Vagley numbers, and I think part of that is when you're not consistent up front, quarterbacks get gun shy. You know, they start throwing the ball in places that they wouldn't ordinarily throw it, trying to protect from getting whacked by a blitzing backer or whoever. And he made a bad mistake, bad decision on that interception. And he was trying to throw it away, he just didn't throw it hard or far enough. And you know, he understands. But you know, again, when in the situation that you get yourself in, sometimes quarterbacks have a tendency to press, try to make plays out of things that aren't there. And you know, as great of a football player as he is, he's also human. And so, you know, that's just the way it goes. And yeah, it was all downhill from there. But he's been pretty solid for us, and I expect him to bounce back and have a big week.
And I would say every quarterback has had the feeling with Coach Horner. You press that one time and you look over after that pick, and Coach Horner's got his hands up in the air, and you're thinking, well, he was there whenever I saw him. It was just that split second afterwards.
So then they run to the other end of the field, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Happened,
yeah, right.
But so you have Dom. He's got those numbers. McConaughey comes back rushing this week, 5 rushes for 36 yards. Meganson led the receivers with 4 receptions, 60 yards, and then you had Jay Missler coming out of the backfield. He had 6 receptions for 47. So one thing that I did think was a highlight, you had 6 different receivers catching the football this week. So it's a good way, you know, not that you just have one guy that the defense can say, hey, we got to shut down, say, Missler, let's throw him out there. We got to shut him down. Well, we've got 5 other guys that we feel comfortable throwing the football to as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's a huge part of it, and especially when you have most of the time 3 receivers and sometimes 4 receivers out there. You got to be able to throw to them all. And you know, I think Dom's building his confidence in throwing to all of those guys when they're making catches. You know, you feel good about throwing to any of them, and so that was a positive part of the other night. And you know, Meganson's been he's continuing to improve, getting better at running his routes, and you know, he's catching most everything we throw to him. So you know, that's a step in the right direction for sure.
On the defensive side of the ball, once again, they were out on the field a ton the other night. Gave up, I believe it was a lot of yards, we'll just call it that, 389, 269 on the ground. Again, Waterloo's offensive line just kind of pushed us where they wanted to go. And once again, your leading tackler out of your safeties and McConaughey and Vegley. So you don't want those kind of guys to be making the tackles. We talked about that weeks before. And just the arm tackles, it seemed like this week, were all over the place. And that running back for Waterloo, they had kid ran downhill and he ran hard, and he was falling forward 2-3 yards after he was making contact.
Yeah, part of the issues defensively, I think we have to start with, like you said, when you start talking about the defenses, they're on the field so much. There's a reason that they're on the field, and that's because the offense can't sustain a drive. Offense has got to keep the ball out of their hands, sustain a drive, establish the line of scrimmage. We haven't done that for 2 weeks. We're going to have to be better at it this week, or defense is going to be on the field a lot again. And with as many guys we have going both ways, that's just not a good recipe. It's really not. And you know, the arm tackling situations are, again, you know, combination of a couple things. Combination of, number one, we need to be more aggressive, like I said, and number two, we need to get ourselves in a better position to make a good tackle. We're out of position way too much, and when you're out of position, all you can do is reach and hope. And when you play good teams, reach and hope's not going to tackle anybody. You'll end up, you know, falling on the ground and they're running over your head or what's going on. That's pretty much what happened Friday night. And we just have to be better offensively too.
Well, that's enough of week 2.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to run to a break, folks, and we will come back to Aces Wild here with the Holton Meets Coaches Corner right after this. Holton Meats Coach's Corner, presented by Holton Meats Chop House Steak Burgers here at Aces Wild. Enough football for a second. Coach Horner, we're going to need you to take the head coach's hat off, put your athletic director hat on. We're going to talk the new conference. This week is the last week for non-conference ball games with Marquette, and then everybody else is also playing their final weeks of non-conference games. So talk about the new Cahokia Conference. We've added some teams, we've lost some teams, and we've got a new division. It used to be the Kaskaskia and Mississippi division. Now we go small, medium, large. Large division, we're still sitting Columbia, Breeze, Freeburg, East Alton, Wood River, Roxana, and Salem. Medium division, Carlisle, Chester, Oakville, Redbud, Sparta, Westland. We'll keep Oakville in mind. And then the small, Dupo, Marissa, New Athens, Steelville, Lebanon, Valmeyer. So, Coach, large division, everybody's pretty much the same as far as scheduling goes. Everybody's going to play each other. We switch over into the medium division. For football-wise, Oakville does not have a football program, so therefore Dupo comes from the small division and comes up into the medium division to play in their conference games. So from the athletic director's perspective, how does scheduling go? Does everybody play everybody? Does the largest play the medium? And this goes for every sport, not just football.
Right. Yeah, so the large division, which is still the Mississippi division, everybody in the whole entire conference, you only have to play the teams that are in your division. There's no mandatory crossover whatsoever in any of the sports. There is some crossover in all sports. There's times that that we'll play a handful of teams out of the medium division. We don't play very many teams from the small division, but I think this was a very huge and awesome move for our conference. Honestly, when you look at it across the board. Because there just had become such a division between Breese Central, Columbia, Freeburg, and Salem in terms of their enrollment with the other schools that were in the conference in Carlisle, Redbud, and Westland. And so even though in some sports some of those schools could compete with the larger schools, it was time to make a change. And some of the guys that have been at this athletic director stuff way longer than me, who had a vision and we're able to really get it moving forward, make it happen, did an awesome job with it. And I think it really balances out the conference across the board in all the sports, and it makes perfect sense. And, it would have been easy for any one of the divisions to say that they were going to leave and make their own conference, but everybody just kind of was part of the Cahokia Conference, didn't want to leave. They, it's something that's tradition, and, bylaws are already in place and all those things. And so it was just easier to kind of make the switch to 3 divisions. And so far, so good. It does give you one less conference game than what you might have had in the past, at least in football. But I still think it's a good move. Really balances it out.
So now let's say baseball and I believe basketball, same play. You're going to host, say, East Alton Wood River, and you'll go to East Alton Wood River?
Correct. Yeah, it's a home away. All the stuff, at least in the large division. I'm pretty sure it's that way in all the divisions, but my focus obviously is mainly in the large division. Play home and away in all the sports, obviously except for football. But so scheduling, it's a little easier in a way, but sometimes you got to pick up a few more non-conference games in some situations. But again, I think it's going to be a nice change for everybody.
And the non-conference isn't a bad thing. Let's talk football-wise. I mean, you got 5A Mascoutah, 5A Waterloo, 5A Jerseyville. So it makes it a little bit tougher on you, too. So that helps you out. We talked before, you had the smaller schools when we're playing Carlisle, Westland, Redbud. They're the smaller type schools, so that whenever you do get to the playoffs, that doesn't help you as much. So you get that one extra non-conference game.
Yeah, it does when you're good.
Right.
Unfortunately, when you're young and the numbers are down like we are now, might be a little more competitive to play some of the maybe medium division schools. But all in all, when you win a lot of football games over the years, nobody in the medium division wants to play. And so, with no mandatory crossover, we don't have anybody scheduled. On anybody else in the conference in the medium division in football. So it is what it is, and I think down the road being able to play that tougher schedule is going to make you. But at least you'll be battle tested come week 10.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So now we'll switch over. We'll talk football. Standings for the Cahokia Conference. Freeburg's currently sitting 2-0. Breese Central, Wood River, Roxana, Salem all 1-1, and Columbia 0-2. So like you were saying, that crossover area. Freeburg's playing Chester, that's a crossover. Breese Central and Redbud's a crossover. Wood River goes up to Nokomis. Roxana, Civic Memorial, Bethalto. Salem at Harrisburg, and obviously us with Marquette. What conference is Marquette in? Are they in a conference or are they still an independent?
I think that they are now an independent because they used to play in the Prairie State Conference that had Nokomis, it had DuPo. I believe Wood River was in it. Maybe I'm trying to think of some of the other schools. It split up after the 19 season, kind of imploded a little bit, and people were either dropping football or going to other places, and so that left Marquette out there kind of on their own. And I don't know. It's I'm not sure what the rest of their schedule looks like, to be honest with you, but I know that they have, during the COVID year last year, they played a lot of schools in our conference. I know that they've got some other schools. You know, they've played Salem already. Marquette and Salem played last week. And, well, Marquette played CM, I think, in week 1. But, you know, I don't know who else they're playing, to be honest with you. But, yeah, it's an interesting look to the conference. I know for many years, certainly I've not looked at us being at the bottom of the conference in many years. But I don't know. I don't think anything's a surprise to me up there as far as looking at that. Freeburg, we knew, 90 kids in their program. We knew that they were going to have a ton returning and hungry as ever. They did open up with Sparta. They did beat a good Nashville team last week. But I suspect they'll be 3-0 after this week. I suspect Breese Central will be 2-1 after this week. Wood River, I can't predict. I'm not sure. I know CM's really good. We watched their film on Marquette, and they're really solid. So Roxanne will have their hands full there. I don't know anything about Harrisburg, but I know Salem. Salem did beat Marquette and lost in a close one to Centralia. So, all in all, I think some pretty solid teams up from at least 1 to 5, and we're unproven at this point. So.
Right. Well, Freeburg coming out, their average score 41-13, like you said, playing Sparta week 1, so they're going to put up some points there. And watched a couple highlights from that game last week with Nashville. And they had the place rocking up there, and that's always I guess you'd call it a rivalry now between us and Freeburg. So the way they look at it is if they go 1-8, it seems like if that one wins against Columbia, that's all that matters to them. So
yeah, they'll be pretty pumped whenever we go there a couple weeks. So
all right, so let's talk this week. Coming up, the 0-2 Eagles versus the 0-2 Explorers. Marquette coming in. This is our fifth time playing Marquette. Columbia currently sits at 1-3. Coach Horner is 1-0 versus Marquette, and that one win came last year at a 35-14 victory. Do you remember anything out of that game last year that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I do. We took advantage of some turnovers and had some big plays in that game that, that game was a little closer early on than what many might think. We really didn't get a whole lot going early on in the game. They're extremely athletic, and they typically always are, and that's what we see on film this year. Same way, they have a big quarterback who can run the football, so we're going to have to contain him. They've got some speed at the running back position, and then their skilled kids are what they always are at Marquette. They can run, they can catch. We do feel that they're vulnerable defensively in some situations. They like to commit 7 guys to the line of scrimmage almost exclusively all the time, so they are susceptible to big plays. But then again, you got to execute them in order for that to happen. But last year, like I said, we were able to execute some big plays against them. They like to play a lot of man coverage, so if you can manipulate some formations and move them around, get them in positions that they're not used to being in, I think we can take advantage of that. I think that's where the game's going to be won this week.
So how are you going to get the aggression out of the guys this week? We talked about it a couple times, just the not being soft, go out and make a play. You're at home, first responders night, so it's going to have a little bit of a different feel. You got a little bit of a theme going this week. You're probably going to have a pretty good crowd being at home again. So how do you get the guys to come out and just, hey, go play? Your backs are against the wall. You have nothing to lose at this point. So how do you try to get that message across within the next 24 hours?
Well, without giving away how we're going to start the game, I challenged our kids yesterday at practice and then again today and kind of told them exactly how I want to come out to start the game offensively and how we're going to start the game offensively. You're either going to set the tone aggressively right off the bat, or you're going to be left with, okay, here we go again. It's really that simple. And at some point in time, these young men have got to take it upon themselves. If they need me to motivate them every single day and every single game, then something's wrong anyway. because this is a game of aggression. We play football, hard, and you try to play it the right way. But at the end of the day, it's you against the guy across from you, and how much does it bother you whenever he's kicking your tail? And that's really what it comes down to. So, for me to say I can't give them some Newt Rockney speech or something to make them want to play, they have to want to play themselves. So, and that's what I challenged them with this week. I'm like, you only have 7 more chances. And the way it's going, 7 might be it. And you don't want it to be it. So that's going to be up to them.
So offensively, we're just going to go ahead and say Coach Warner is going to say we need to control the line of scrimmage. So there's one of the coach's keys out of the way. What's your next 2? You said you're going to have to set the tone. And
control the defensive line of scrimmage.
Control. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. All right, so offense and defense. I always thought that went hand in hand.
I honestly think, aside from that, I mean, that's the game of football, as we know. We got to tackle better. We got to do all those kind of things. I think we got to prevent big plays from them because they've got big play capability, and then we have to take advantage of big play opportunities.
Right.
And if we can do that, get some points on it, because that's where the confidence is going to come from. You get a big play, and a big play for me doesn't have to be an 80-yard touchdown pass or an 80-yard run. It just has to be a
3rd and 10.
A 3rd and 10, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. Give me something more than what it's been the last 2 weeks. Give me a 10-yard run in the end zone. I don't care.
Right.
It put some points on the board early, and now all of a sudden these kids start gaining confidence, and that ability to be aggressive, I think, increases because now their confidence is where it needs to be. But we have got to take advantage of that. It's that simple, and we have not been consistent in our execution, and we better be.
And I think, going back to week 1 against Mascoutah, those guys, they were having fun. They were rocking back and forth with each other. They'd make a big play. They'd all come over, congratulate each other. Waterloo last week, rivalry week. They're going to be fired up, but they made a couple big plays and a couple big stops, and they come flying off the field. And like you said, the confidence, our guys kind of come walking off, maybe half of a jog coming off. So just got to go out and have fun, like you said. Go get some confidence going into you. So about 24 hours away. I think we're good for tonight, though. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for tomorrow. I think the kids are ready, and I think things are going to go well for us tomorrow night. I just got a good feeling. I don't know why. I just felt like yesterday and today's practices were right where they needed to be, and hopefully their bus ride gets to them a little bit, and we can come out and make our fans proud of what we're trying to do, and give the kids some confidence moving in the rest of the schedule.
All right, well, that's enough talking about it. Let's get it done tomorrow night. Thank you all for coming in tonight and Aces Wild and watching online. That does it for week 3 of the Holton Meets Coach's Corner. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 for the pregame show at Columbia's Multipurpose Field. Thank you.
Thank you.